Is there another Trump bounty gate? The DOJ on Monday morning stunned Americans by releasing letters that the Trump wannabe assassin Ryan Routh, where he talks about putting $150,000 bounty on the former president's head. This was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I failed you, he said. I tried my best and gave it all the gumption I could muster. It's up to you now to finish the job, and I will offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job, Routh wrote. Now, why is this just one letter, and why now? And where in the world would a reportedly unemployed Ryan Routh get $150,000? Donald Trump Jr. exploded on X saying, WTF, what is Kamala's DOJ publicizing the Ryan Wesley Routh putting a bounty on my dad's head? Well, that's a great question. And we've mentioned before, this story is very weird. Ryan Routh was a sketchy drifter that ran in foreign circles that were hotbeds of CIA activity. And Routh himself was arrested 74 times and spent zero time behind bars, with one of those charges back in 2002 was for possession of a weapon of mass destruction. In this case, it was a machine gun. So where's the mainstream media outcry against the threat of left-wing violence? We've had not just one, but two would-be Trump assassins within the span of 2 months. And none of the major outlets are trying to tie Crooks or Routh to the Democratic Party's hyperbole about Trump being a supposed threat to democracy. As Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee said in an exclusive editorial at theblaze.com. In a span of 2 months, our 45th president and the current Republican nominee for president was nearly assassinated on 2 separate occasions. No matter what side of the aisle you're on or who you're voting for in November, this should deeply frighten you. So joining me now to discuss the media's silence over the political violence is Matthew Peterson, editor-in-chief of Blaze News, and Senator Marsha Blackburn. So, Senator, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Now, let's just dive into this. Why is the mainstream media trying to just move on from this story? It has been not once, but twice now.
And twice they have moved on from the story. And I think that they would have moved away from the first one earlier if Kimberly Cheadle hadn't had such an abysmal day on Capitol Hill at her hearing and still couldn't provide answers and then resigned, because we still don't know what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. We know there are some who are going to be reprimanded. We still do not know the details of that day. The House has established a committee to go into the details, look at this, but it's slow in coming. We do know more about what transpired in Florida, and we're grateful that Governor DeSantis is now saying he is going to conduct an investigation on this. And one of the things we learned after the second attempt, and we learned this from the sheriff, is that the cover and protection that is given to President Trump is not equal to what he got when he was president. Even though Joe Biden had already said, let's give Harris and Trump protection that is equal to what he is getting. We want all of our nominees to be safe. We are the United States. We settle our differences not with violence, but we settle them by having campaigns of ideas. And it is up to us to work hard as we communicate those ideas.
Senator, I know you're concerned and one of the only people doing something about the safety of former President Trump, it appears, in Washington, D.C. What do you make of this release of this letter? I mean, just one part of a letter, which really the highlight reel that's in all the media today is that he's offering a $150,000 bounty to assassinate former President Trump. Do you think this release is politically motivated?
I find it so inappropriate that would have been released. And you have this attempt assassin that is now known by name and is now saying, here is a bounty. And I just find it incredible that the DOJ is handling it in this manner, and that there are not at this point additional charges on this man, this would-be assassin. So it is time for DOJ to begin to go after these attempts and the people around them. It is time for FBI, who is investigating Pennsylvania, to give us more information. We want to know about these other social media accounts that the Pennsylvania assassin had. He had established, and information that is on those. But it is important not to glorify these. And you mentioned the work we're doing trying to get the resources around President Trump that are necessary. After the Florida incident on Saturday, a week ago, I sent a letter over to the Secret Service demanding that he be given the adequate protection. And we still have not gotten a response.
Senator, one of the biggest issues in this election is going to be the open border. And a lot of that has to deal with the fentanyl that is pouring in across that border and affecting so many Americans. What are you trying to do about this and trying to slow it down and stop that?
Yes, indeed. As I visit in each of the counties in Tennessee every year, and we hear from local law enforcement, we know that every town's a border town. And what needs to be done are some simple things, starting with securing that border and making certain that we build that wall so that we limit the amount of fentanyl that is coming into this country. The second thing that we need to do is making certain that local law enforcement has what they need. And of course, there are different provisions that I've worked on to bolster the resources that are there to local law enforcement, not only in drug interdiction and the equipment that they need, but also making certain that we go after these drug traffickers, these human traffickers, making certain that we cut federal benefits. Some of these people are getting federal benefits, and also that we stiffen those penalties. Those are some specific things that can be done and should be done to help local law enforcement, because they're on the front line of this. Another provision I have, the CLEAR Act, would allow local law enforcement, when they have an illegal alien that has committed some type of offense or crime, they can hold them, detain them, and have ICE come pick them up and deport them. Then ICE has to reimburse that local law enforcement agency and make certain that they are reimbursed for every penny that they spend apprehending and detaining that individual.